Okay, so I am happy to welcome Lindsay here, who has graciously agreed to come on camera and share a question that she has wanted to explore in our time together. And I think it's a really good question, and it's one that is going to give us an opportunity to explore how we might be able to look at um, showing up to relationships in such a way that we are honoring ourselves and we are honoring what we need and want for ourselves, while also negotiating those treacherous boundaries between ourselves and the other, right? Ourselves and our partners. So to start, Lindsay, I wanted to just give you a little introduction and a summary of the question that you posed. And you can feel free also to interrupt me and correct any aspect of this that you want to clarify or say is wrong. So you are currently going through a divorce from someone who has narcissistic tendencies. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And in that process, you were under the police protection because of your ex was stalking you, is that correct?
Yes, my daughter, myself, yes.
Okay. And during that time, one of the police officers who you mentioned was much younger than you, about 8 years younger than you, began flirting with you and started approaching you in that way. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And there were certain exchanges. It sounds like he did certain like errands for you, might bring you groceries. You mentioned that he also shared an email with you, but when you tried to offer your number, he seemed to pull back. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, so it was he definitely has narcissistic tendencies. So it was like when I offered my email or my phone number, then he did the discarding. And then he started hoovering me after that. He started prank calling me.
Right.
And he dropped off groceries from Whole Foods Market on my porch.
Mhm.
And he bought every single food item and brand that I like, and with no idea that I like these foods.
Mhm.
So that's source, that's God. Nobody is able to determine what their food taste are, what they like, the exact brands. But it was like, I consider that hoovering.
So for those that don't know the term hoovering, hoovering is kind of sucking you into their vortex, right? It's doing things to try to persuade you to kind of attach yourself to them. Is that how you would describe it?
Yes, to like stay in the relationship, so that way they can, with that cycle of violence, they can continue keep you in that relationship.
Right.
Yes.
So your primary question was, how do I approach discussing my concerns with this person before considering allowing him back into my life?
Yes.
So the secondary question was, what am I not seeing here? Right. I want to say, it seems like there might be a repetitious pattern happening where you're getting out of a marriage with someone who has narcissistic tendencies, and now you're in another sort of interaction with someone who also has these sort of narcissistic tendencies, right?
Yes.
And so when that happens, when we find ourselves attracted to and struggling, let's say, to set boundaries with people like this, sometimes it's because there's an early attachment wound that we have that is connecting to the wounds that they have. And we've chosen different coping skills or mechanisms, whether it's due to temperament or our social conditioning. We've dealt with those things in different ways, and we've found opposing ways of finding relief from anxiety, whether it is moving towards someone and being in close relationship to them because that alleviates an internal sense of anxiety, or whether it is disconnecting from someone and moving away from them to alleviate a sense of anxiety. So we're talking about like anxious sort of reaching for tendencies versus avoidant pulling away tendencies, right? And then we have people who have experienced situations where reaching for or pulling away did not solve the threat, And so now there's a confusion around what works and what doesn't work. And there's an internal chaos around what is me, what is not me. What do I like? What don't I like? What's good for me? What's not good for me? Right.
Yes, and I have pulled away. So I changed my number 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been doing my healing work the past few years, and I've been following your work since this past January. So I'm I'm in deep healing mode.
Mm-hmm.
And he keeps looking at my number and prank calling me. And then I know, like, I clear out some traumas with my energy work, and I know that it's him.
Mm-hmm.
So he keeps following me, and I'm getting stronger and stronger, but he
So when you
keeps
say,
calling me.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
When you say address my concerns before considering allowing him back in,
Yeah.
what part of you is considering allowing him back in and why?
So it's hard to explain. Like, you have to be doing this energy work to kind of fully understand, like, with the quantum universe. So I know, like, I am supposed to be with this person, but he has to heal himself of his wounds before I can be with him, because you have to do this work to kind of understand. And I'm also Roman
So
Catholic.
I do manifestation work and working with quantum field. And there's something I want to clarify around that ideology. Okay. So oftentimes there's a relationship between the body, the chemistry of the body, and what we believe is intended for us on the level of spirit. Okay. So when we are with someone who creates these sort of patterns of intermittent reinforcement, gives you lots of attention and then disappears,
Yeah.
hoovers you back in, and then throws your number back at you, right? Prank calls you, but then doesn't necessarily show up in the ways that you would want a real partner to show up for you, right?
Yeah.
This, on a chemical level in the body, this is going to create intermittent reinforcement, which is similar to a gambler at the slot machine. And then we start to create stories around predestination. Now, I want to say, it doesn't mean it's not true. This person could be a soulmate. They may very well be intended for you in a soul curriculum. But what is the function of a soulmate? The function of a soulmate is to connect you to your soul.
Yeah.
And if there's any refuse between you and your soul, then the function of the soulmate is to clear that out of the way. So when you're in a relationship with this person, what's coming up for you? That what are you feeling? What are you doing? How are you behaving? Right. So there can be, and you mentioned you're doing deep healing work. So I suspect you're very aware of some of these things.
Yes, I am.
You know, which is maybe he probably is a soulmate in the sense that he's here to help you see these things. Right. But when we say I'm intended to be with him, this is a very earthbound ego thing, because only an earthbound ego perspective thinks about things in terms of a timeline like that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you may be together, but maybe that's in the entirety of all time, immortal lifetime. But you're here, a spiritual being having a physical experience now. And ultimately you want to align your spirit to that which is going to be in the greatest service of your highest purpose here on this earth.
Yes, I understand.
Right. So I have a couple questions that I want to ask you to maybe help you see that perspective, because part of what you were mentioning is, what am I not seeing? Right.
Yeah.
So is it okay if I ask you a couple of questions on this topic?
Okay, sure. That's fine.
So, and even keeping this on the level of soul expansion, and I'm going to walk through this according to the chakras, because it sounds like you're also interested in energy work. And so I'm going to reference the Hindu chakra system because it's the most, it's the one I'm the most familiar with, and a lot of people are familiar with it, generally speaking. But if we look at this in the crown, all of our energy centers have a lighted and a shadow aspect. And we want to look at every relationship we call into our lives through this sort of frame. So if we look at the crown, does this person contribute to your sense of purpose and what you have to offer the world, generatively speaking?
Not currently.
Okay. When you think of being with this person, do you see yourself happy in the future with them and contented?
Not with who he is. He has to change himself.
But
He has to
we're
make
staying
himself
with the present, the
the
moment we
present.
talk about
No,
what he could be, or an ego, right?
no, yeah.
Do you feel safe speaking your mind or asking him questions?
Not currently, no.
Is he generous of spirit? Meaning if you have an issue or you need to reach out and express your needs, can he be there for you with generosity?
No, not currently.
Okay. Do you know if you have similar long-term goals?
No,
Okay. Do you have similar values?
probably not.
Okay. Does he communicate about intimacy with you?
No.
Okay. So given that insight, all right, we've just looked at those 7 dimensions, okay? And you feel that source has brought you into his line of sight for a reason, and I don't doubt that that's true.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you another set of questions, okay? And this is where we're going to start looking at where the vibe might be in your own auric field, okay? So generally speaking, do you struggle to find your own sense of meaning and purpose?
Not so much now, because I've been doing the inner healing work the past few years.
Okay, so you feel like you're on the road with that.
Yes.
Okay. Do you see your options, generally speaking, for love and relationships as fairly narrow or limited?
No, I have to keep healing myself. I know, just that way I can keep raising my energetic, my energetic levels. So I'm very
I'm going to pause and just gently challenge you here, because a few minutes ago you said, I know I'm supposed to be with him, but he has to.
That's true. Yeah. Thank you for catching that.
Right. So, and this is the struggle, right? This is the juicy stuff. This is the good stuff that we get to see and look at, right? So there's a couple voices inside. There's one voice that says, no, I'm working on it. I know there's other things in the world. I have no problem going out and dating other people, right? I think you mentioned that in your questionnaire. Yeah. But you also mentioned while he gets his shit together, right? So I'm going to amuse myself and wait for him to get it together. So there's still a narrow focus there. Okay.
Yes.
It's just something to play with. Then we also talked about feeling safe speaking your mind. So that's in context of relationship, but now let's look at this in terms of the relationship between you and you, right? So are there any needs that you have that you might suppress or struggle to vocalize out of any type of fear?
Towards this individual or just in general?
For yourself. Like, are there needs and desires that you have that you struggle to admit to yourself because you're not so sure you deserve to have them or you have a right to them?
Maybe just a little bit of like, I don't, not deserving happiness or to be fulfilled.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's what I was looking for. Do you struggle to open your heart?
A little bit because of the abuse, what I've gone through, but I'm working on that actively, but I have to keep working on opening up my heart.
Do you find that sometimes you might struggle to have a sense of agency or will? Like you're not sure that you have the will or the motivation or the capacity to do things?
No, I do them. My daughter is my main driver and I do the best I can. I suppress my ego and I just, I keep going. But my daughter, she's the main motivator in my life and also wanting to improve my life for myself.
Okay. So I want to come back to the suppressing my ego. Okay. So I'll come back to that in a minute. Do you ever feel as though you might be unclear, fearful, or ambivalent about your decisions or about your future?
Yes, sometimes.
Okay. Do you ever feel unhappy or unsafe in your body, with your body image?
Sometimes. It's getting better though.
Okay. Okay. So the reason I ask these questions is because we were walking down the chakras again. And the questions I asked, the secondary set of questions are basically the same questions I asked about the partnership, only this time directed towards the self instead of directed towards the other, right? So the reason I ask that is because sometimes when we are experiencing those things inside of us, we feel an intense connection to someone else that pulls them out into the real world. Like it pulls it out so that we can be we can engage with it in a way that feels real and tangible to us. And that's our way of working it out. It's not bad, good, or whatever. It's just what we do sometimes to try to work things out. But the reason I raise these questions in parallel to each other is just so that, and I know you're working on this because you mentioned you're doing the deep work, but just to help you kind of see into maybe some of the corners that might be hard to see into with respect to the attraction and the scope of vision that you have when it comes to this particular partner, right?
Yes, and I can keep working through, like, I can work through and completely forget about him. I'm perfectly fine with doing that. Just keep working through my traumas and through my healing.
But I don't want it to feel like a punishment. That it's like, so this can be a fun thing. This can be an exploratory thing. So the second piece of your question was, what are some practical things that I can walk away with? And this is where I would like to do something experiential with you.
Okay.
So you had mentioned I suppressed my ego. Now, one thing I want to maybe reframe here is that the ego is your friend. Your ego is a bridge between the inner and outer world, the conscious and the unconscious. The ego keeps us from fracturing into psychosis, right? What happens is we want our ego to be safe enough to feel like it can loosen and soften and be a little more flexible for us, right? So, and what that means is instead of kind of knowing the outcome and thinking I have to do this, or I have to do that, or I have to earn love, or I'm not where I want to be, or I need to get the thing to make me finally happy, these things. This is an ego that is scared. It's an ego that needs some love and attention. And it's an ego that needs to remember how to play and have fun, right? And that's hard when we never had safe opportunities to do that, right? So I thought we might play a little bit today. And I might invite you to take a colored utensil, one in each hand if you can, or it could be one hand, whatever is comfortable for you.
Okay.
And we're going to, on the page there, I believe you have a page in front of you, yes?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to have you just make a scribble. Just move your hands in whatever way feels good and natural to you, and just make a scribble there on the page. All right. And now I'm going to have you take a look at that scribble in the way that we might be laying on a hillside and looking at the clouds. And I might ask you, do you find any shape in that scribble?
I drew Mickey Mouse.
You drew Mickey Mouse. All right.
Yeah.
And you smiled. Do you have any associations with Mickey Mouse?
Well, I think probably more Minnie Mouse because I'm using a pink pen. So just Disneyland.
Did you go
I'm from Southern Cal. I mean, I'm from Northern California, but I used to go to Southern California a lot. Okay. So yeah, Minnie Mouse.
And did you go to Disneyland while you were there too?
Yes, I would go like almost every year when I was younger.
And these were positive memories?
Yes, yeah, for the most part, yes.
Okay. So we're going to play with this a little bit, and we're going to assume that Minnie Mouse came out for you for a reason. Yeah. And we're going to ask a few questions, and we're going to see if your body, your energy, your unconscious mind is willing to chat with us. So I might have you with your dominant hand, just simply write the question, what is your name, on the page.
Okay. All right.
And I'm going to have you switch your writing utensil to your non-dominant hand, which is the hand that you don't write with. Okay. And as much as you can, you're going to try to respond and just allow your hand to do the responding.
I just was writing my name. Okay. Okay.
Okay. And we're going to speak to this figure as if it is a part of you, that it really is a character that exists inside of your auric field.
Okay.
Maybe it's a younger version of you. Maybe it is the version of you that got to go to Disneyland as a child. But it's an aspect, an essence of your energy that exists in your auric field and that wants to communicate with us here on this call for some reason.
Okay.
So the next question I might have you ask is, what do you need? I'm just
So I
going to write
just
that down. What do you
wrote
need?
that down. Okay. So I'm just thinking of the first thing that comes into my mind.
Mhm.
All right.
And what comes to mind?
I wrote to be loved.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
So the next question might be, how can I love you?
I wrote down embracing myself more.
Mhm.
So embracing myself more.
And tell me how to embrace you.
Going within.
Going
That's-
within.
That's the first thing I wrote down.
Sure. Okay, next question. What do you look like? What does going in look like?
Yeah, I'm just writing down the first thing that comes into my mind.
Sure.
Not to think about it.
Mhm.
Okay. So yeah, being with my thoughts, being with myself.
Okay.
All right.
So with that, I'm going to ask you to take the image of Minnie Mouse, and it could be your drawing image. It could be also the associations you have in your mind. And we're just going to take a breath. You close your eyes for a moment. And I'm going to have you imagine that you're extending some roots down through the soles of your feet, down through the floorboards of your home, down, down, down through layers of rock and crust and soil, all the way down to the earth's molten core. And on your next breath, we're going to imagine that your roots are drawing up all the nourishment that you need from the earth, coming up your roots, spilling into your feet, into your body, really grounding you in this present moment. Remembering to breathe, remembering that with every breath, the space inside of you gets bigger as your ribs expand, as your lungs expand, as your heart expands, gets bigger and brighter and more open. Breathing down into the heart space, letting the breath really open it up. And we're going to call to your mind, right there in your third eye, the image of your Minnie Mouse. And we're going to imagine projecting her on that screen. This is your theater house, your movie house. And with the next breath, we might breathe some animation, some personality into Minnie Mouse. And we're going to hit play on that movie. Drawing up your energy from the heart, just letting it hit play and noticing what Minnie wants to do. And keeping your eyes closed, I'm just going to ask you a couple questions for a short practice. When you hit play on that movie, what does Minnie do? How does she move?
Yes, she's dancing and laughing and hugging me.
So you were there with her?
Yes.
Yeah. And what kind of music does she seem to like?
Just like the type of music they play at Disneyland. It's just cheerful band music.
Sure.
Sure.
Sure. And as the movie continues, does anything evolve? Any friends join you? Do you move to another place?
I think my brother is joining me, my younger brother.
Is this welcome?
Um, We're like in front of the I would think Sleeping Beauty's castle at Disneyland.
Mm. How does that feel to be in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle?
Like very warm and inviting, very safe.
Do you feel safe entering the castle?
Yes,
Would you like to?
yes.
So you might see yourself entering the castle with your brother and with Minnie. What do you see there?
Like I guess like jewels, like diamonds.
It's very abundant.
Yes. Or tiaras, just different jewels and
Adornment.
princess, yes, adornments, princess tiaras and jewelry.
Does this excite you?
Yes.
Do you feel comfortable trying on some of these things?
A little bit not, but yes, mostly.
Mostly.
Yeah.
What part says a little bit not?
Just for fear of dropping them, like breaking them.
Very precious.
Yes, yeah.
Well, diamonds are the hardest stone on earth, so I think you have nothing to worry about.
That's true.
Would you like to try?
Yes.
I invite you to go ahead and try it on.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just like imagining, like the vision, like Aurora's tiara in Sleeping Beauty.
Sure.
That's what's in my mind.
So I invite you to just notice how it feels to wear these adornments.
Like light but heavy because of the weight of the stones. Like they're very I feel like a princess. I feel very beautiful and soft and feminine.
So I'm going to invite you to take a couple breaths and to just allow yourself be with that feeling for a moment. Beautiful, soft, feminine, but there is some weight. There's some weight to these precious stones that cannot break. They are substantial. And for now, they're yours. And so you might just take a breath, letting that feeling just move throughout your system, pumping to the rhythm of your heartbeat from your crown to your toes, from your fingertips to your nose, just letting this feeling be a fragrance that you get to enjoy. Allowing the momentary experience to become body knowledge, a form of cell memory. And just knowing and trusting that the appearance of Minnie, the castle, of these jewels, of these adornments, there's a wisdom in it for you, however metaphorical. And in time, when the time is right, and if it is required, this wisdom will rise to your conscious awareness, and you will not know what to do. And so we're going to take another breath, just letting that be what it is. And I invite you to return the tiara, hang up the adornments. Thank you to the castle. We'll be back again. And we're going to leave the castle, returning to our movie house. And thank you, Minnie. Thank you, brother, for joining me. We'll come again. Now we're going to hit stop on our video, on our film. And we're going to turn the lights out in the theater, not forever, just for now. And we're going to release a breath, letting go of the practice, coming back into the present moment, back into the body. And we can let it go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So I wanted to offer you this experiential as a practical tool for connecting with the parts of you that may be hard to connect with in talking, right? Just by regular means. And sometimes allowing your creativity to come out in unexpected ways, and then playing with the images and the metaphor that comes up for you and the feelings that connect to it. You may in time be able to have a lengthy conversation with these parts that are emerging for you. Okay. And I will tell you, I switched from the drawing to moving in because I had a sense that it was a little hard. There was something in the translation that was getting a little more difficult to grasp. And I felt if maybe we went in, you might be able to touch it more non-verbally. And it seems like you did. How did it feel for you to go through that experience?
Well, I guess just kind of trying to fully get, reconnect with my feminine energy. Like when you're a little girl, it's easier to do that. And then I know as you get older, people are attacking. I've had a lot of people attack my femininity. I haven't been able to go within to that little girl, at Disneyland, going into, Sleeping Beauty's castle, or just, and interacting with Minnie Mouse and pretending like I'm a princess. And so just going within to that feminine little girl that can be carefree and happy and feel, like a princess, feel special, feel girly.
Sure.
Yeah.
And those are really powerful metaphors for different aspects of feminine essence that came through for you.
Yes. Yeah.
And so in terms of recommendations, I'd encourage you to play with these things, creatively.
Okay, like, through the art.
Yeah, you could explore it through the art making. Or do you write at all?
No, I haven't. I need to make time to do that, start journaling again.
Only if it's fun.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sorry.
But the scribbles are a fun thing to do, and you can do relatively easily because it's not about, looking pretty or being a certain thing. It's just letting your body kind of speak to you. And then just following it. You can bring it in, you can see what emerges. You might maybe you make a sketch of the tiara that you saw, or maybe you write down a few notes about how it felt to wear those adornments, right? And you can play with free associations around, what comes up for you when you think about those things. And so bringing this back to your original question, the reason I feel like this applies to your question is because all of these images and the journey and the feeling and the metaphors that you're playing with, all of this is going to help you start to construct and inhabit a sense of self that will be able to navigate the terrain with this person, right? And ultimately, what's best for you, and I truly believe that. And what's going to be right for you in your life moving forward. But these will give you some tools to help you construct a firmer ground on which to stand. And they will be in sort of metaphorical, nonverbal, creative ways, but it will create a center from which you can kind of reach out and curate your life with whatever partner you want to call in.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
How do you feel?
I feel better. So I am interested. I was wanting to work on with some of your programs, like the secure attachment, and then the other program, like the insecure, that program as well. So
Sure.
I definitely want to keep building up these skills.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Well, I have a couple different programs. Usually the level 1 program is an attachment related program. So it depends on what you think your attachment style might be. So there's a quiz you can take that will, I think you mentioned you think you may be more anxious.
Oh, so secure.
Secure. Okay. So
Yeah,
we do
that's
have,
okay.
I have a little quiz you can take, and it will send you to the course that would be the best fit for you.
Okay.
If you would like to know more about that, I can share that information with you. And also for anyone watching who might be interested, I can also share the links to that as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you.
So with that, I'm going to end our recording.
Okay.
And I just want to say thank you for your willingness to share your exploration with us. And I know that other folks are really going to benefit from this conversation as well.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Okay.